Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday stream. I don't think I've done a stream in quite a while, so I wanted to just give a quick little update on a couple of things that I've been doing on this channel, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of go through what I envision the next couple of weeks to be. And I'll try to give as many updates as I can in today's live stream. Hopefully you guys will be here, and I'm just gonna post the live stream link in Twitter right now so people can see what the link is. So live streaming at URL, tweet that out and check my notifications while I'm at it. One thing I noticed is that I'm actually a bigger user of Twitter than Instagram. I don't really know if I'm going to be a huge part of the IGTV movement yet. I know it's a pretty big platform, and actually, I enjoy using IGTV a lot. I just don't know if it's the right thing for me to start using full time. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. So let me see how many of you guys are joining today. Currently have about 30 people watching. So that's pretty good. We have a ton of people. Let me try to pull up my pop out chat. This way I can see what's going on. And here we go. So good. We have Ignacio, Surya, Ziza. I don't film anymore. Ray Charles, Soaring Fan, Ivan A, Xavier, Castro, Williams Brain, Sahib, Paranjit, and Panasar. Okay, so let me switch over to a different scene here on the stream, and hopefully you guys are able to see this thing. Yeah, so I just kind of woke up a little bit earlier while I was trying to prepare for the live stream today, and I wasn't able to come up with like too many different slides, but here is what I have to sort of present with you guys in the stream. And the thing I wanted to kind of talk about in today's live stream is I've been playing around with a couple of different styles of architecture for iOS development lately, and I've been noticing a couple of things while I'm trying to work through a couple of examples. The couple of different frameworks that I'm using is probably just regular old MVC versus MVVM, and there are a lot of advantages to like both styles of programming. So I'll be going through how to kind of apply this in a more real world scenario. And I've prepared a couple of applications that I wanted to actually talk about, but I won't be going over them in today's video. I'll probably do something like next week or probably in a couple of days. All right, so let me get a drink of today's tea of the day. So this is just a standard iced tea that I like to drink whenever I'm in like Asia. So whenever I travel to Asia, there's a lot of, I guess they call it just 7-Eleven or Quickie Marts. And every time, especially in Asia because it's like super hot, the best thing to do is just pop into one of those Quickie Marts and then grab one of these hot tea drinks. Usually it's super cold and really quenches your thirst, right? Yeah. So here it is. This is red. If you guys can't read the Chinese, this is Bing Hong Cha. All right. So maybe I'll type it out in the stream. It's called Bing Hong Cha. I really wish they would sponsor me. This is actually a really big company. I don't know what the parent company is, but they do a lot of sponsors for a lot of shows in Asia, or I guess in China, really. Yeah. Okay, so enough talk about beverages and iced tea. So iOS architectures, why exactly do we sort of want to use them, right? And the big thing about iOS architectures is that you really want to be able to clean up your code so that you can maintain it later on when you're working on your projects. And even more important is when you have like a team of people that are writing on the same code base. So for example, if you are able to sort of separate all your classes and all your models, your views, your view models, your controllers, your testing, if you're able to manage all of this code in one single project, then everybody's going to be happy, ideally. Now, in the past, for me, I've noticed that a lot of different people have, they subscribe to different philosophies in terms of getting the code in a place where they're happy with it. So for example, one of the big things in software development is actually testing. And when we're talking about testing, we often mention this thing called code coverage and continuous integration. And so whenever you're trying to achieve, I guess, code maintainability and good code coverage, you want to make sure that the testing that you're writing out for your actual application, you want to make sure that you're covering as much ground as possible. And that's actually a really hard thing to do. I think the consensus around code coverage is like 80% or 70% of your code. And yeah, again, that's a really hard thing to achieve in terms of like goals and what you want your application to actually do and how it performs on a kind of a daily basis. And so, yeah. So the reason for good architecturing is you don't really want to make your teammates go insane. So I think in the past when I've worked with other people, the people that are really good at applying like structured code, they are able to kind of make your job easier as a team. Whenever you have to build out a new feature, it's extremely easy to just add in new code to the current code structure. And then the other important thing is, like, if you don't write unit testing for your application, then your code isn't going to make it into the final release branch of the application. So applying or having good architecture allows everyone to kind of subscribe to the patterns of the company. And let's see. All right, next slide. Start with MVC and simple model view controller. Yeah, so a lot of you guys are probably well aware of MVC and how to sort of make it work for your application. And, you know, Apple sort of puts this as the default architecture pattern for you. They don't exactly do like correct model view controller, because like the first file that you see is the view controller.swift file, which is kind of a combination of the view and then the controller. But the good thing is that with that view controller file, you don't have to construct your own view. You don't have to construct your own controller. Everything kind of just starts off as a class that you can work with. Otherwise, I think you would be stuck with a couple of different files and, you know, having to figure out what a controller is, what a view is, and what a model is. They don't really, you know, they make it easy for beginners to start out by just providing a file for you to just start typing in. But I think for the most part, using model view controller is like the easiest way to get things going. And for a lot of applications, like for a lot of applications, you don't really need to go beyond MVC. I would say maybe 90% of applications are okay using MVC. And then when your application is ready, you're probably going to want to transition into a more, I wouldn't say complicated, but a more, I guess you want to provide more structure to the way you build your components. So when you're seeing problems with MVC, that's kind of when you evolve your application into the MVVM architecture, which stands for model view and view model. And the reason for that is because using standard MVC, it's really hard to test your components. For example, you have your model, you have your view, and then you have some kind of service layer that helps you fetch things from internet. Standard MVC is like trying to test all that logic is very cumbersome, and it requires a lot of guesswork to figure out how you would test this. And so MVVM provides like a kind of abstracts everything out into separate components, and then you just plug them in together, making the testing framework a lot easier to work with. So that's why a lot of people use MVVM. And yeah, unit testing, no bugs allowed. So unit testing is, I think, one of the harder things to get right, especially in a complex application. And yeah, the thing about unit testing is that you have to kind of pick the right framework from the get-go, from the very beginning. Otherwise, it's very difficult to start writing tests that actually perform or actually check what you want to check. But yeah, I think I'll, in the future, I'll go over unit testing a little more. Personally, I am not a big unit tester. In the past, I've had to write unit tests for, for work, for professional work. And I've always found it to be really slow, and it's really hard to get going, and it's extremely difficult to write correct tests for your app. And hopefully when I make the videos on how to do it, I will try to make this easy to follow. But it's always a hard topic to discuss. But yeah. So final thing I want to say is that implementation of a clean architecture in your app is pretty difficult. And it's not easy to understand it until you've seen a really, really large project. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it on that note. Like when you're just starting off, you don't really understand why you need this stuff in the first place until you've got maybe like 100 files. So when I say 100 files, you probably have about 20 view controllers, and then you have about, I don't know, 40 views, and then you have like 40 model objects. So that's roughly 100, right? And that's when you start to see things either start to break. That's the first thing. The second thing is you start to see you're repeating a lot of logic within your MVC pattern. And then the third thing is that you find it's hard to really understand how to write good test code for your application. So typically that's what happens. And I guess the fourth thing that happens is you'll notice that every time you release a new version of your app onto the App Store, your app starts to break in more and more places. And every time a new bug is filed, you'll realize that this bug was something that also occurred in another place. And if you check that same, you'll start to write the same test over and over. And yeah, I guess moving on to a different structure of code kind of helps you out. Oh, all right. So I guess the next thing I'll introduce here are probably some of the courses that I might start to teach in the upcoming, I don't know, weeks or months. I've been doing a lot of preparing. I don't know exactly what I want to do yet. Yeah. Oh boy. I guess let me pull up some of the comments here, and let's see. Haven't done a live stream in a while, so let's see. What do I want to show here? The chat. I think that's the chat. Hopefully, I'm not showing anything secret here. And let's see. Maybe I'll move this to the right side. Move myself back into the middle. Okay, because I'll just sandwich myself in the middle here. Yeah. Ever since I started live streaming, I have a newfound respect for the Twitch streamers that do it full time. It's not easy. Just trying to set up everything on the screen correctly. Okay, so I guess I'll start playing around with this application here. One of the new courses that I want to start building out is this App Store style course. And the thing that's kind of special about this application is that we're going to be using MVVM and also using RX Swift. And I guess we're also going to use some testing framework to get this application working, and to also introduce some code coverage for things you would like to test. So for example, let's say the top portion of our view right here, let's say we are always, I guess let's say we have a server. That server returns 3 different types of objects for this top carousel thing. And the thing that you want to test is you want to make sure that all 3 items are actually being rendered out inside of this view correctly. So for example, if you click into it, or not click into it, but the first item should say like Facebook in blue. You should have some kind of text that says keeping up with friends is faster than ever. And then you should have some kind of image in the bottom section or the bottom area. And what you would do is you would test for the second application and then the third application as well. And then you kind of follow the same pattern for testing out these items here. So if you look at it, we have a ton of different objects in the bottom row. So yeah, the way this application works is very similar to the App Store. Every time you want to click on some item and download it, you just click into it, and then you'll see some of the objects here. You have the preview. I don't know if I want to click into, or I guess what I'm trying to say is like every time you click into these things, it should launch a bigger image viewer, but I don't know if I want to do that. It takes a lot of work to actually get that feature in. But let's see, all these games have really bad or low resolution to the images. I think the better ones are probably like Netflix. Let's see. Okay, so this looks pretty good. And yeah, what's really going on here is we're using a lot of the APIs from the App Store, and then we're just grabbing information and putting it into like horizontal collection views. And if you guys aren't used to this snapping behavior, it's actually something that a lot of applications do, right? So when I'm scrolling over to the right and left, it kind of snaps to the left border. So there's this left border-ish, the left border right there. So it just kind of snaps over there. And the same thing for this bottom section. Yeah, so getting that behavior correct is good. So what is this, the Instagram app? Suddenly the views disappeared for my videos today. Please bring it back. Yeah, I guess Instagram is updating their application quite often. They're probably finding a huge amount of bugs with their IGTV app. Wow. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so let me get to some of the questions on the chat here. So I guess I'll avoid any questions that I don't want to answer today. I'll be on the stream for probably, I don't know, a couple of more minutes, maybe 20 more minutes. I can't believe it's already 10:40. But let's see, we have Xavier Castro. We have you're amongst my favorite devs. Oh, cool. One thing I did notice about the channel. So, yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about this right now. I guess I'll just mention it a little bit. How do I want to say this? So when I was starting out this channel, I guess, yeah, this is gonna be a long story, but so for the channel, when I started this YouTube channel like 2 years back, one thing that I did not want to do was to teach beginner topics. And I guess a lot of you guys know this already based on the content of the channel. And the thing about beginner topics is that I really I don't like going through it very often. So for example, you know, table views, IP outlets, storyboards, what a view did load is, table view, self a row, you know, all this basic iOS development concepts that, yeah, I just flat out do not like going over because it's so boring and it's so dry. And so when I created this channel, the first thing I wanted to do was do more advanced topics. And I've noticed that over the past year, or maybe even the past half year, that every time I put out more advanced topics on this channel, people generally are very interested and they are able to understand it very easily. So that's one thing that I kind of found a little bit surprising with the way that, or the direction that the channel is heading into. I plan on putting even more advanced topics out on the channel as the weeks kind of come up, I guess in the month of July. So there's going to be a point where the topics will be a little bit too advanced for everyone to understand, and I want to see what that point is. The last couple of videos where I started introducing generics into Swift syntax, see, I kind of thought that that was going to be a little bit too advanced for most people on the channel, but it turns out a lot of you guys are really enjoying that type of advanced content. So definitely let me know every time I release one of those new videos on more advanced Swift. If you think it's too advanced, yeah, let me know. It's always very fun for me to discuss those topics because no one really talks about advanced Swift. Yeah, so generics are a huge topic, especially when you're writing code for a real company. You want to start using generics more. And there's a lot of those animation tutorials that I really like doing as well. And it seems like a lot of people are like the animation stuff, which that's not really surprising because animations are always fun to build out. If anyone has suggestions for animations, don't hesitate to let me know. Don't type it out in this live stream chat because it goes away. You can find me on Twitter at buildthatapp, or maybe even on Instagram at buildthatapp. There's that Facebook group as well. And I guess there are the comment section where you can leave your suggestions for animation tutorials, and then I'll look at it and I'll try to rebuild it somehow. And yeah, so I guess I'll kind of stop on that note. A dev who consistently uploads, never knew it existed until I found this guy. Yeah, Simran Preet Singh. Good morning. So I think Simran has shared his MVVM coding structure. I think that's you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been looking through your style, and it typically, I guess it follows a typical MVVM pattern that I see around the web as well. And it looks really nicely structured, and the way that I'm programming it follows similar patterns. And then my computer just freezes. I don't know why. I think the simulator is really killing it, so I'm just gonna shut off the simulator for now. Okay. Yeah. All right. So TDD, is it really useful? Yeah, it's extremely useful. How much actually the development speed is affected. The thing about testing is that it takes a lot of time up front, but then it saves you a lot of time later. So you have to find that right balance where you don't want to stop, I guess, feature development, but at the same time you don't want to fix the bugs in your features later on. It's a hard act to kind of balance out. Hey Brian, any chance you'll do Mac OS development? To be honest, I'm not too experienced with Mac OS development. Like, I've built out a couple of apps on my own, but they're nothing super polished, and I don't know if I'm gonna do that. But I guess feel free to let me know if people are interested in standard Mac OS desktop apps. We have Ling Kun Xing. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Do you have any idea on OpenCV? Not really. Developing apps, iOS for past 4 years, become so bored of doing it. I've been more passionate about learning other technologies. Have you ever felt this? So Daniel asked a really, I guess, a relevant question for me. So personally, I also get bored of technologies when I use it for too long. And iOS is no different. You start to get bored of it as well. Now, the way that I've sort of dealt with this is by becoming a Android developer as well. And then I also worked on backend technology such as Rails, Golang, and Java, and Node.js. And, I've also worked on React.js for the web. So I guess the easy fix for this is you want to become a full stack engineer. That's the best way to sort of expand your own skill set. And, I think you'll make more of a salary bump in the long run. But even in Swift and iOS, there's plenty of things to learn. Like if you want to start doing animations full time, then I would suggest doing that. If I were to really focus on a specific iOS topic, I would do probably drawing or like core text, figure out how those libraries work. How about MVP? So that's model view presenter. That's also another good pattern. I haven't really used that a whole lot. I've read about it, but my knowledge on that is quite limited. Sponsor stream for the Bing Hong Cha. I guess this message is a little bit old, but for those of you that don't know how to pronounce Chinese words, they're really easy, especially if you start to type them out using the pinyin. So I guess it's Bing Hong Cha. So there's like, if you change your, I don't even know how to explain the pinyin, but the numbers actually denote the tones of these words. So Bing Hong Cha. Let me know if people in the stream can actually hear the tones of the Chinese characters. It's pretty hard to describe if you're not used to having tones in your language. So for example, Bing and Bing and Bing and Bing, they're all very different. If you can hear it, that's good. That means you're not tone deaf. That it's just very hard to keep the computer from freezing. So I'm gonna try to read through some of the comments here. Tech lead, great channel. Hey Brian, did you ever build that app? Yes, I did build that app. When are new Firebase episodes coming out? I'm gonna try to get something up and running soon for the new episodes. I don't know exactly when they're coming out though. It takes a while to prepare this stuff, so unfortunately it's taking me quite a while. Let me get to this live chat. Okay, so Xavier Castro says that yesterday I turned 22. Can't wait for more programming videos from you. Here's my gift to you. Well, thank you, Xavier, for the super chat donation. Really appreciate anyone that's able to support me and kind of what I do on this channel. I'm trying to help everyone out with as much content as possible. The whole reason for me doing this is to just kind of, I guess, democratize education. And for people around the world, I know especially in certain countries that programming knowledge is just not all that accessible. So what I do here is just to make sure that that is no longer the case, right? So yeah, anyone that's willing to support me, remember courses are down in the links below. Yeah, so what would be the best parameters for picking the correct or best architecture for your apps? There's a lot of factors to it. I would say consider testing and consider the ease of adding on new features inside of your app. It's also very important. You are the best. Well, thank you. Can you make a React Native project? Probably not. I'm not extremely experienced in React Native, so I won't be doing that too often. Can you do a full course series on unit testing, MVVM, or RX Swift? Yeah, so that's what we plan on doing for the App Store app. I don't know how deep I want to go into it because things can get pretty complex. Okay. Should we use native session or preferably go with Alamo Fire or other libraries for networking? I would probably stick with Alamo Fire if you need a easy solution. I would go with Alamo Fire. And then once you start to see that it's not doing what you want, then you'll probably build out your own networking framework. Would you like to have a tutorial on how to use Stripe or any other online payments? Yeah, I've been thinking about integrating I guess building out an e-commerce app. And that way you guys can see how to use Stripe and how to get a Stripe token, a credit card token, and then how to, how to process a credit card using the Stripe framework. It's not too difficult. I think we used to use the Stripe framework library for the Touch of Modern app. They probably still use it, and it's extremely easy to integrate. Your courses are good value for money. Well, that's good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm really trying to make it affordable for everyone, and also at the same time be able to support myself and continue to keep pushing out content on the channel. That's my biggest priority and concern, I would say. So yeah, we'll see an e-commerce app sometime in the future. Any videos about testing on the horizon? Yeah. I'm watching your channel for a while, and it's amazing. Cool. Can you please give me your opinion on my app? It would mean the world to me. I guess for anyone that wants to have an app review, either message me, or not message, but just tweet at me. So as for app reviews, tweet at build that app, and I'll try to do what I can. And as you can imagine, I get flooded with quite a few messages from time to time, so I can't really get to everyone's requests. Can you explain folder structure in MVVP? So I would probably just use model, view, and view presenter, I guess, for the folders. That way, yeah, I would just use that as a folder structure. Sometimes I like to structure my code using the actual features and just putting the feature code in a specific group. But I don't know, I've kind of gone back and forth between just using the model, view, etc. pattern as a grouping. How can I get the image for a specific movie in the movie DB API? I think I showed everyone how to do this in that React.js course. I believe you just append some kind of thing. Yeah, just look at the React.js tutorial, and then it's like some kind of string. You can just Google it. It's very easy to look up. Would you suggest MVP architecture? Depends on what you want to do. MVP, I guess, is more useful for... I probably wouldn't use just MVP. There's probably a better way of integrating a view model in this type of architecture. Why don't you make new courses other than the 3 courses you have on your website, something general like an e-commerce app? Yeah. Yeah. Pushing out courses is not as easy as it seems. I'm not saying that people are claiming that it's easy, but it's not only is it a lot of time to write the code, prepare the code, shoot the videos, edit the videos, upload, course curriculum, course outline, and then the biggest thing is like the mental energy that it takes to produce such a huge amount of work, or to put all this together and then concisely present it on a website in video format. Like, I've never really done this before ever until I started doing this channel. So it's a new thing for me, producing content. So Yeah. What I mean is, like every week I'll have something new that I wanted to try out, and then I'll try it out, and then I'll put it on the YouTube channel, and then it delays me from producing other courses. I know it's not the best thing for me to do, but so far it's been working out pretty well. What is the session about? Well, hopefully the title. Oh, the title of the stream is bad. Guess I'll change the iOS architecture. That's probably why no one's joining. And some future courses. Okay. So hopefully that will change the stream title. We'll see. Not really sure what that means. 音乐是聆听, 是听. I like to see solid principle also being used on the app. Yeah, solid is it's not really an architecture. Yeah, it's really principles of programming that help you make more maintainable code. That's probably the best way I'll put it. Can you explain MVVM? I will try to do a video on it today, and then I'll see when I can edit it and present it on the channel. All of these architecture topics are not easy to explain, and what else do I want to say about this? Like, there are a lot of videos that have these charts and these graphs about what MVVM should be, but every time I watch one of those videos, those charts are so like useless. Yeah, I think those charts are extremely useless to look at. They don't really explain much. It's just some nice looking chart, and they're like, oh yeah, these arrows go this way and the other arrow goes that way. And other than that, you don't see any concrete examples of what that architecture should really do. So I really dislike making those type of videos. Although they are helpful, I just don't like doing them. What do you think about tutorial for a header with collapse animation? I don't know, that seems hard. It's really hard to animate the header for a table view or a collection view. Should I take that back? Yeah, it's really hard to animate the headers. It's a lot easier to animate the cells. So I would probably just suggest using a cell for the header, like a fake cell, or yeah, using a completely different section at the very top, and then have a second section at the bottom, and the top section would contain a cell that's a header. That's how I would work around that. Any tutorials for calling SOAP API using Swift? Wow, I haven't seen a SOAP API in 10 years, so probably not. I would like to say that you are an amazing teacher. Well, thank you, the Soccer Fox. Can you prepare a video for choosing the best architecture on iOS? Yeah, that's what I would like to do, and we'll see how far I do get on that. Hello, coming, yip coming. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Hamagijo yip coming. Well, how about doing something more enterprise-based, i.e. business solutions? So I'm not exactly sure what this sort of entails, like enterprise-based apps. Like, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I've done some things where I've created apps that are internal, and you share those apps via like an internal packaging system. But I don't know. I didn't find that to be all that fun. Explain MVVM from scratch and protocol-oriented programming. Yeah. Block server protocol for web API calls. Definitely use closures and blocks instead. Protocol delegate is super messy. You'll notice that whenever you go through MVVM, the main focus that they talk about a lot, or I guess not MVVM specifically, but reactive programming such as RX Swift, they always talk about how bulky protocol delegates are and how much of a pain in the ass they are to actually implement correctly. And so reactive programming kind of eliminates the need for a delegation, which is a huge bonus for RX Swift. Please don't use binding thing in that project. MVVM with binding is really advanced topic. So there are a couple of issues with the binding that I do agree with, and it's kind of advanced if you try to use RX Swift. So I don't know if I'm going to use binding a lot, but at the same time, you should learn about how to do binding correctly. So the couple of examples that I've set up for my other apps, binding is not that difficult. Like, it's just really one line of code that helps you do a ton of work. Yeah, but I do agree it's really magical what's happening behind the scenes in reactive programming. So if I Grant, thanks a lot for the quality content. Great. I think the advanced topics are really good, Brian. I hope you do carry those on. There's not enough people doing advanced tutorials that pushes skills in Swift. Yeah, I do agree with that. The issue is that most advanced programmers are not, or they're not really interested in doing videos. But the more advanced topics, like, there are a lot of good blog posts by really good programmers about how to use like some really advanced Swift topics or Swift coding patterns and Swift syntax. Binding is pretty simple. So I also agree with that. Binding can be advanced and also it can be really simple at the same time. The only problem is for reactive programming like RX Swift, if you don't understand the core fundamental concept of a binder or an observable, then it's really hard to understand the rest of what the point of RX Swift is. On videos, you look like a robot, but on streams like a human. Thanks for useful videos. Yeah. I think for the videos, I get kind of stressed out trying to program at the same time. So like one of the reasons why these videos are like hard to make is that I have to remember everything that I want to program out in the next 20 to 30 minutes. And so I'm like typing and trying to talk at the same time, trying to read the screen, trying to figure out, okay, is the simulator going to work this time? Is the code going to compile? How am I going to talk about the next topic off the top of my head? So, you know, it's not the best produced video, but that's the best that I can do, especially talking about topics that are so hard to explain sometimes. And yeah, you know, I'm just trying to do my best to get content out. Sometimes there's a balance in recording a good video versus recording something that's entertaining, I guess. I'll say that. More videos where you build out famous apps from zero. Yeah. Yeah. I've kind of thought about this the last couple of months, how the channel hasn't really built out any app yet or any other new apps. And maybe I'll get back to doing that. But one thing about building out an entire app is that it requires at least 10 or 15 episodes. I don't know if I want to do a 10 or 15 episode series again. I guess one thing is that they don't get as many views, which isn't super important, but yeah, I don't know. They're actually easier to make. Like building out a series of tutorials is really easy because I don't have to reintroduce what I'm doing. It's just, it follows very sequentially, and it's like super easy to just go from 1 to 10. Yeah, it is, but most often devs don't use MVVM. With binding, it gets really complicated, useless while a project is growing. I don't know if I fully agree with that. So there are certain bindings that are super helpful, I think. For example, a table view and a collection view is really easy to build out using a binding. But yeah, I do agree. After a while, the code can get kind of insane. We are waiting for your new series of tutorials on a single topic. Awesome. How about the tutorial for creating third-party library in Stream in Swift. So I guess some people are interested in how to create a pod for Swift. Like I've created a couple of pods, and there's that one that's called LPCA components that you can download. Creating a pod isn't necessarily difficult. Some of the files that you have to create can be a little confusing, but other than that, I think creating a pod is pretty straightforward. How do you learn how to code in Swift? I think I get this question a lot. Do you use Apple documentation? I think there's a common misconception as to like how people learn how to code. We all start from nothing really, and it's not that we start from nothing, but there's always something that we want to build out. So for me, I wanted to build out a simple, like a spinning pie chart was what I wanted to build out. So I did my research on how to actually register a touch, how to figure out when your finger moves, how far it moves in the X and Y direction. And then based on that, I wanted to rotate a circle on the screen. So those were the 3 parameters that I needed to kind of tackle, or 3 tasks I need to implement correctly before I had to move on to anything else. So you want to start from something that you kind of understand how it should work, and then you look at the code, do some research on how it's actually done, and hopefully through that process you can keep on iterating and you learn more and more and more. Like no one ever really just jumps into the documentation, or no one really jumps into a book either and starts to figure out how everything works. It's just not the case. I'm so tone deaf, I need a one-to-one. Or do you use books? Most documentation uses storyboard. Yeah, I guess one thing I'll say about storyboard is that it's really easy to start using. You just have to open up your storyboard, drag and drop, and you get things that show up correctly. But yeah, once you need to build out things that are more complicated, it's really hard to do it in storyboard. Okay, so Shabam Saraf says that I purchased your Instagram Firebase intermediate core data course. Both of them are amazing. I have learned a lot from them. I'm looking forward to buy your upcoming courses. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. I actually get this message quite often on the website. Like everyone, I guess most people seem to get a lot out of those courses, which is great. I try to pack them with as much content as possible without going on for too long. And the way that I really teach those courses is it's really geared towards helping people find a job, really. So some of these topics are like, if you understand this topic, there really shouldn't be anything preventing you from getting a real job. That's kind of my purpose behind everything. Thank you for your tutorials and motivation video too. Awesome. I guess one more thing that I'll say about this channel is that the real purpose is for people to, I guess there's really 2 things. I really want to encourage people to actually start coding more and stop relying on the storyboard. There's a lot of reasons for that, because I personally really enjoy programming. You guys can probably see that like through the videos. Like I actually really like to type out code. That's something that true programmers will really enjoy, because like we're just really comfortable sitting down and typing away on the keyboard. Yeah, and the second thing is I just want people to understand that jobs are not that hard to get. Once you put in the effort, you should be able to get a job as a programmer pretty easily. I guess I shouldn't say that so lightly, but for me, everything that I've done in my life up to this point, so I'm in my mid-30s, everything that I've done so far has worked out pretty well. And I think that's how it is for most people. if you put in the work, then what you're trying to work towards will eventually happen. Some people don't really understand that concept, actually. Like, I guess some people expect things to come very easily, so they don't really want to put in the effort. However, programming is not that. Programming requires you to train and train and train. It's kind of like a bodybuilding contest where you actually have to hit the weights. You have to work out. You have to have a plan on what you want to do every day. And eventually, after 6 months, you'll accumulate all the skills to win the contest, which is kind of a metaphor for getting a job. How would you dynamically adjust a collection view based on the length of a string? So there's a tutorial on that on the Instagram Firebase course. How to get dynamic sizing. I hope people watch that. You can use system layout sizing. Just look it up. It's not that hard. So every time I say something that's not that hard, what I mean is like you just Google it and then the solution's there. I'm not saying that, like, I'm not calling out anyone that asks these questions. Literally, it's really 5 seconds away. Just Google it and it's there. Okay. I think I'll have to get going in about 7 minutes. It seems like I've been on the stream for 53 minutes. And I guess we'll see. We'll see how far we get. So do you use test-driven development on your projects? Personally, I don't think I do, but for work, I would recommend it. Do you have a rough idea on when the new videos are going to be added to the Instagram course? I would say, yeah, I can't promise anything, but I mean, I really want to do something this month, but we'll see. I'm going to be leaving for a trip to Shanghai at the end of this month, so I have quite a few things to prepare for that. Vapor is built on Swift and IO. There's also Alamo Fire. Yeah, you know, for these things. So I guess one thing about these questions is that when you present a question such as this, I'll read it out. Which architecture do you suggest, MVVM or MVVP? So I suggest that whenever people ask questions, to give a little bit more detail as to what they're trying to implement. It's very difficult to answer such vague questions. Or I wouldn't say vague, but there just isn't enough detail in here for me to give a good answer. Yeah, and instead of me just saying that it depends, I would rather answer with a better context. Really good teacher. Cool. Thank you. Glad you guys are able to learn from the videos. Can you tell me how fastly can I learn Android development? I'm a junior in Java. Thank you. So it depends. Anything that you're trying to do requires a lot of time. For me, learning Android development probably took, I would say, half a year to understand really how to do things correctly in Android. And after another year, it was pretty easy to learn the other aspects of Android programming. But having said that, I wouldn't consider myself a great Android developer. What do I like to do for fun? I used to be a big basketball person, but ever since I've gotten a little older, it's been harder to, I guess it's been harder to do physical activity compared to in my 20s. So I've kind of stopped playing basketball hardcore. Right now, what do I enjoy doing? I don't know. Other than this YouTube channel, I don't think I've been doing anything else. Yeah, so I think for the past 2.5 years, I've been just doing YouTube hardcore. For people that are looking to get into YouTube, make sure that you actually enjoy producing the videos that you want to put out there. If you don't enjoy the process, then you're gonna get really tired really quickly. You'll burn out. And all of the successful people on YouTube that make videos, they like, one thing that you'll notice is that they'll do it even if they're not getting paid to do it. I mean, it's great that we get ad revenue, we get brand awareness, we get all the opportunities that come with being a YouTuber. Those are nice, but at the end of the day, we would produce these videos regardless of being paid or not. We actually just want people out there we want to communicate our ideas to people out there. So make sure that you're doing it for a purpose that isn't just strictly money driven. Am I cold? Yes, I am cold. So I do plan on moving to somewhere that's warmer. I live in South San Francisco, which is extremely cold. Every day I wake up, I feel like I'm on the brink of catching another cold. Have you got any apps out on the App Store right now? Currently no. I don't really want to spend the time maintaining an App Store app, so that's kind of why I haven't done it yet. I do plan on releasing like an application that will allow users like you guys to watch the videos on the website, but it seems to be I'm not sure if it's worth it just yet. Yeah, it's been on my mind ever since last year, but it just hasn't really materialized into anything yet. Deal with design based on iPhone 10. I mean, fixed button sizes. iPhone 10 is designed 44. It looks bigger on smaller screen sizes. Just provide some kind of styling. I guess some kind of framework for how you want to style your buttons. Make it smaller and bigger depending on the screen size. Yeah, so something like that. Thanks for your last upload on iOS generics. Cool. Any possibility for a paid Kotlin course? So I've been working on some things for Kotlin. Yeah, so again, this is the huge problem with what I do on my everyday tutorial preparation process. I just go through way too many, I go on a lot of tangents, like, oh, I want to figure out how this works on Android, and I want to figure out this new framework, and going back to iOS and jumping back and forth. I start to lose focus, and I start to work on too many things. Cool picture from you behind by Steins Gate. Yeah, so that's Steins Gate. If anyone's interested in watching anime, that's a really good series. It starts out really slow in the beginning though, but once you get into it, it's one of the best series that I've seen in a while. Okay, so let me try to read this out. If you do a series on MVVM, RX with protocol-oriented programming generics, your channel will grow rapidly, because many here are wanting for advanced topics, but there's few resources online waiting for advanced topics. Yeah, so again, I'm pretty surprised about how much attention the advanced videos are getting. So just looking at my view metrics on YouTube, a lot of people are really enjoying the advanced stuff. So that's actually the thing that I like to do the most. Again, I really hate talking about how a table view works, how a collection view works. I would not want to do that full time because it's extremely boring. There's a lot of other people that talk about that kind of stuff, like how to refactor your code a little bit and do storyboards and all that stuff. I would go crazy if I had to talk about that stuff all day. Is it possible to attach images from Instagram to image boxes within an app based on hashtag? To image boxes within an app. So I'm not exactly sure what an image box is, but hashtagging is kind of difficult to implement. So I don't really know what to do about hashtagging just yet. Do you have a productivity workflow, like before you start your project? Do you use some to-do app or calendar app to keep on task? So for me, I've never really had, or I wouldn't say never, but in terms of workflow, once I have an idea, I just work on it straight for the next, 8 hours, and then I just work on it until it's done. But again, there are like a ton of distractions like YouTube, messages. But for the most part, whenever I'm working on a problem, I try to get it done as fast as I can. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't really do a to-do app. I pretty much know exactly what I'm going to build out, and then I work towards that goal, one feature at a time. Should we continue with native app development or choose to go hybrid or Flutter development? Well, I don't know. I guess I'll call out this person for asking this question today. If you want to become a iOS or Android developer, like a mobile dev, you're going to have to learn iOS, Swift, or Android, Java, Kotlin. Regardless of what you're working with, like React Native or Flutter, you'll still need iOS and Android native skills. So you can't get away from learning Swift and Java, Kotlin. And that's, I guess I'll say that and end it there. Any recommendations of different blogs with good iOS advanced tutorials? I don't know if there's a whole lot aside from like hacking with Swift. There's the objective-c.io website. So those guys are really good. And I would say that's probably it for advanced topics. Yeah. And then there's this channel. So I would say there's 3 resources online that do this well. I would not put like raywenderlich.com. That website, I would not consider like most of the stuff that they put on that website are geared towards how to get started with iOS, and they do that extremely well. Some topics that they do put on there are pretty advanced. So they have some like how to build out Pinterest, how to do core images, core animations. Those are really good. But I really wish they would put out more advanced topics because they do those really well too. They just don't have a huge variety on that for obvious reasons. Like their demographic is geared more towards beginners. And I remember when I was actually on the Ray Wenderlich team, and I saw like all of the guides or all of the tutorials that they were going to make in the future. They had a lot of really good topics, but I don't think I've seen much of it released on the website. Yeah, so Josh Gallagher says that I was going to buy your Instagram course, but I don't know if you continually update them to stay up to date with current versions like Wes Boss courses. So I don't know who Wes Boss is. He's probably a great developer. For all of the courses on the website, the syntax is always going to be updated to the latest Swift syntax. So anytime you purchase a course, the Swift, the sample projects that you download, those will be available in the video recorded format and then a separate package for the most up-to-date Swift format. So that'll be always available, and you don't have to worry about the code being out of date because I will continually update the source code for each project. One thing that is, I think I'm catching a cold or something. One thing that is a downside for video format is that the video recording is always going to not be up to date. But from what I've noticed, everyone that's purchased that Instagram course, the core data stuff, the podcast course, all of that code has been written out so that it's extremely easy to update even if you're going to a new version. So Swift 4.2, Swift 5.0, there aren't a lot of changes, so you don't have to worry about incompatibilities. It's not that bad. And the upside is that I think everyone should have practice in updating the Swift code themselves anyways. That way you kind of just get out of that newbie territory where when the Swift language changes, like you're not struggling with dealing with that problem. I'm Russian, but constantly you watch the translator. Thank you, brothers. Because it's quite old. So yeah, Instagram course was written in Swift 3, and Swift 4 changed only slightly, and all of the updated code is already available on that website. So anytime you need to look at new code for Swift 4 and also Firebase 5, all that code is already available there. As an iOS developer, is it necessary to know backend development API? I think so. Can't read that. Yeah, short episodes, and each covers a specific topic. They should get more views. Also easier to search for. Yeah. I wouldn't say that my priority is on views. The way the channel works, it doesn't really optimize for views. So it's more optimized towards making sure people are learning the most. So yeah, and that's the way, that's the better business model for me, at least. Getting views on YouTube is it's not a good business model, I'll just say it. Do you suggest using CocoaPods or manually adding libraries? I think CocoaPods is great. I would try to minimize it, or minimize your dependency on CocoaPods as much as possible. But nonetheless, you'll still have to integrate some very important CocoaPods, such as Alamo Fire. Thank you for inspiring me to code as gay. You're the first gay to ever code, and that's admirable. Okay, good. It's really headache to look at Apple Docs. I would kind of agree with that. So, to be honest, I don't really rely on documentation until I absolutely have to. I wonder what's going on with the stream. I think if I buy a new computer, an actual iMac Pro, then some of the freezing issues will stop. So if everyone can chip in for my new iMac Pro, that'd be greatly appreciated. I can't understand the Apple Docs. Yeah, it's... The thing about Apple Docs is, if you're just looking at it without any type of context, it's extremely difficult to understand. I would like to ask you about UI. Is it better to make UI in code and a Y? I guess Anton here is trolling me. Yolev, good to see you again. How are you? I started a new job in a startup a month ago. We are a small team of iOS. One is storyboard lover, and the other is me, code. Any advice on how to get along? I would say that you guys should meet in the middle somewhere. So, you know, I'm not a huge one way or the other person. Like, obviously I like to code. Storyboard's all right. It's not the worst thing in the world. So one thing that you can say to the storyboard lover is that as your code base grows and grows and grows, it'll be harder to maintain, I guess, separate views across storyboards. So you can imagine if you're designing one view for a certain view controller and you want to have that view exist in another controller and you want those views to be the exact same components, then you'll have to create it in code so that you can put it in both places, or you can use a nib file to make sure that that component is, I guess you can transfer anywhere you want. So that's that. Yeah, and also using storyboard for testing is difficult. So things like dependency injection is just not possible using storyboards. So there's that. I want to I don't know. Flutter's a thing. I don't really. Hello for Flutter. There isn't much a good example for animation, list views, display. Yeah, I don't know about Flutter really. I think it's okay. It's really hard to get things done correctly in Flutter, so that's kind of why I haven't really used Flutter a whole lot lately. Cool. So KDB says all your courses are amazing. The more courses you teach, the better I'm as a iOS developer. There's a lot of comments today. Huge fan of SF. Chat number 2. Can you please make a video async programming detail? Probably. I got rid of Storyboard because of you. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, dude, as an iOS architecture course would be an awesome. I would buy it. I started learning iOS from your basic Swift course, core data course. That was amazing. I got an intern for iOS development. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to more of your courses. Great. Yeah, a lot of people are, tell me this, like they've been able to find jobs as iOS developers just after watching a couple of the videos. So just imagine if you watch all of the videos, how much, what you can do, right? Unit testing, UI tests. So I'm not a big fan of UI testing. I just don't think it's necessary. Unit testing, however, is extremely useful. How many hours should I learn Swift at the day? So if you need to ask this question, like how many hours should you learn, then you probably don't enjoy Swift. So most of the programmers out there doing this for full time, like we would program all day if we could. This is how much we like enjoyed programming. So if you find yourself asking how many hours you need to do it for, it seems like it's a chore for you. And for most of us professional programmers, writing code isn't a chore. It's more like a hobby and something fun that we enjoy doing. Yeah, unit testing, iOS architecture. 柱子，现在中国晚上2点21分。Go. Yeah, so I hope whoever's watching the World Cup is, I hope your team's winning. I'm not a big football soccer fan, so it's not my thing. What motivated you to teach programming? I also continue to code. So I guess how should I answer this question? It's kind of selfish for me to teach programming because when I was working as a professional programmer for iOS, I just got really bored maintaining the same code base or the same application. I wasn't really learning much anymore. So I just wanted to quit my job and learn more about iOS. So whatever I can learn on my own, I also want to teach to people. And luckily, I have this YouTube platform to sustain what I'm doing. And I think everyone benefits. Thank you, sir. Your tutorials, I become an iOS developer. Great. Congratulations. Yeah, make sure to let people know about the channel. Why don't you create an app instead of your website? I don't know. I don't think creating apps, like for me personally, I don't really like creating an app isn't really my goal. Yeah, like I don't really have a great idea for an app anyways, so that's not my thing. Building Apple Watch apps, maybe one of these days. As you can see, I don't really have a watch. I'm not a big watch person. What about Unity? I'm not a game programmer, so I would suck at Unity. You are my favorite YouTuber. Great. Do you enjoy the work on YouTube and your teaching community more than a full-time developer job with a large tech company? So yeah, I guess I kind of just answered this question. Being a full-time developer is, it's not that being a full-time programmer is bad in any way, but I guess how should I answer this question without offending the tech community? Okay, so I'll kind of outline what I don't like about being a full-time developer. Whenever you're writing code full-time, you have to deal with people that are not programmers. So for example, your boss might not be a great programmer, might be like a coding manager, but they probably don't code full time anymore. And when they try to talk to you about building out a feature, they think that is really easy. So it turns out it's not easy to build out things, and you have to deal with this type of person a lot. And then you get pulled into meetings, like the marketing team wants you to build out some feature that's insanely difficult to build out, but you know, they want to know how to optimize the money that they spend on marketing, so you have to build it out. And then there are analytics. People want to figure out how your app is performing, so again, you have to build out some analytics framework or integrate something that tracks events, metrics for your app. And there's a lot of that kind of coding that I don't really enjoy. I mean, it's pretty fun, but I don't exactly enjoy it 100%. And then there's all these meetings. There's all these, there's just way too many meetings at a real-time job. Real-time database, Firebase new database method. Cool. What is your future for macOS apps? I don't know. I really want to see what the new iOS app, or having iOS apps on the Mac OS desktop, that was the most interesting thing, or the most interesting takeaway from WWDC 2018. I mean, dark mode is nice, but it's just really aesthetics at the end of the day. First video I watched from you was auto layouts, and now I don't use storyboards anymore. Great. Logan Park, KSI. Yeah, let's go with Ricegum. So I was watching the whole Ricegum video and his controversy about him going to Hong Kong and doing a lot of really annoying and childish, and pretty much just being a really immature person in Hong Kong. So if anyone hasn't really watched that video yet, it's basically kind of just like Logan Paul. He went over to Hong Kong and started doing, I guess, just really, really stupid behavior. And I was thinking about making a video about this kind of stuff, but the problem with a programming channel is that you can't really go off topic and talk about YouTube drama so often. It's always interesting to watch drama. That's why it gets a lot of views. Let's see, how many questions do we have left here? We're going to talk about advanced topics. Can you show us how to develop apps using TGD? Maybe. I want to become a web developer. What should I learn? Well, you probably want to learn the web. Okay, just join. What's the bottom line here? Are we going to see MVVM with Arc Swift iOS architecture? Yeah. Yep. We'll see that eventually. My question is maybe completely off topic, but I wanted to ask, is it a good idea to learn Android development before iOS development? Can you be both good at Android and iOS at the same time? Yes. How come you don't do more Android development videos? So that's a good question. Why don't I do more Android videos? Well, I don't really have a good answer for that. I guess focusing on... here's the thing about YouTube. When you're making videos on a YouTube channel, it's a lot easier to focus on just one thing. Like just one thing, and do that one thing well. And so for me, it's like Swift development, obviously. Yeah. I really do like Android development a lot too. But I don't want to split the audience here on this channel into two camps of, okay, sometimes they'll watch this video, sometimes they'll watch this other video. But having said that, eventually I will do that. And yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about me putting Android videos on this channel. I don't know if people would be mad, because I know a lot of people are here just for Swift videos. I'm going to break down here, because ever since I created this channel 3 or 2.5 years ago, I really wanted to do multiple things on this channel. That's why I didn't call this channel like Swift developers. And having said that, for the last 2.5 years, it's been mostly Swift content. I've had Android, some web, some Flutter, and yeah, yeah, maybe I'll just have to think about that offline. I have some Android stuff that I want to put out in the next couple of weeks, so we'll see how that goes. And I know I say that all the time. Let me know if producing one video a day on this YouTube channel would be a bad idea. Because there's so many things I want to talk about that even doing one video a day would not be enough to cover everything that is in my head. Literally, I can talk about a different programming concept every day. I just think people would get really tired of seeing me on their YouTube feed. Hopefully not. Yeah, I've been also experimenting with really long videos. So 20 to 30 minute long videos have seemed to be doing all right. Something that I'm trying to experiment with as well is just trying to make extremely advanced topics and try to talk about some really hard subjects. And we'll see what the hardest thing I can come up with is. So things like dependency injection, MVVM, actual TDD unit testing. If people are able to watch those videos, like I can see the metrics behind the videos and what the average watch time duration is. And surprisingly, for the long, super long videos, people watch a lot of that. But we'll see what I do. We'll see what I do. Again, I really hate talking about beginner topics on this channel. And luckily, everyone seems to be way ahead of the curve on iOS development here, which is really awesome. I've only come to realize that in maybe like the last half year. So for example, I can just produce a bunch of crazy stuff on this channel. Like I put up some insane tutorials on this channel and still people will be really interested in watching. Yeah, we'll see what the second half of 2018 looks like. Do you think knowing only iOS development will be enough to get a junior development job, or do you need to know Java and Android? I don't know. It's a weird question to ask. Again, a real weird question. It's like asking if you're going to become let's just say a chef at a Chinese restaurant, should you also need to know how to cook Western food or Italian food or Japanese food? If you're going to become a sushi chef, do you need to become a American chef or learn about American cuisine? I mean, it certainly helps to know it, but would you say it's a requirement? Oh, wow, more questions. Okay. We're at an hour and 30 minutes. So I'll probably maybe delete the stream after it ends. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I left Android development 7 months ago. I'm depressed. I don't know how to start again. Actually, I hate programming, but I don't know why. Can you guide me? Well, the reason why you hate programming is because you probably worked on a really boring feature. You got to ask yourself why you got into programming in the first place. Like, I totally understand hating programming is a very common thing to grow into as you become more and more experienced with development. And so if you're writing boring code such as like unit testing, just boring list view code, like I would go crazy just doing that all day as well. So, I always go back to creating things that I really enjoy. So, animations is a big thing. And yeah, that's kind of the advice I have for that. Do you look at old Apple docs on Objective-C? Yeah. I don't really look at Apple docs. Okay, so here's a scenario, right? When I have to learn how to use AV-Kit or AV Foundation, then yeah, I will look at the Apple docs because that's the only thing available. And what I do is I look at the docs and then I experiment with the code and then I try to do what I need with the syntax that I understand. And what happens is I'll usually have to Google for some other answer to figure out if someone else is trying to do what I've done. To use Kanban software development methodology. I've read about this Kanban thing, but I don't know exactly what it is. If you hate programming, why do you want to learn it? Yeah. I'm learning Android iOS development for the past 6 months. How to cope with both, because the same thing, we have to remember 2 different codes, and it's becoming quite confusing. I don't know. Code is always going to be confusing. I guess for me, again, I think I've talked about this before. I don't remember half of the things I type out. Literally, I just don't remember. I don't have the time to remember most of the stuff. And I just rely on what I have on my computer hard drive. Like, there's a folder of projects. Every time I need to build out the same feature, I just open that project again and I copy and paste the code into my new project. And that's how a lot of programmers develop. We have a toolbox of things that we understand and we don't remember it. Can you do a video on core data, please? Well, there's a course down in the links on core data. So if you wanted to check out that course, you can do that. I mean, there's also the Facebook Messenger app, which deals with core data, which is on the video or the channel. So watch that as well. Actually passionate about programming 2 years ago, but why I stopped programming. I spent 15 hours a day on programming, but I don't know why this happened to me. I don't know. It seems like a non-programmer thing to say. Any advice for taking online skill assessments? I don't really know about any good assessment tests for iOS. Can't wait for your next awesome course. What is in the barrel? We'll see. We'll see. Have you ever used Viper architecture? I don't think I necessarily have. I probably use a lot of the concepts of Viper, but I don't know. What you'll find when you actually start working full time at a software company is that no one really talks in these terms. At least in all of the companies that I've worked for, no one's ever said, okay, we'll use Viper, Solid, MVVM, MVP, MVC. I don't think I've really heard of anyone talk about programming like that. It's always like, okay, the software company has this code base that looks like this, and how do you integrate the best aspects of all of these other things into your current code base? And then it becomes this Frankenstein of, you know, the best features out of all of these different styles of coding. Any favorite WebSocket framework? I don't know a whole lot. I've used Socket.io for web, and that's kind of the extent of my knowledge on that. Yeah, Socket.io is really easy to get going with, especially with Node.js. Are you planning on making some courses for coding API or something in the backend? That's kind of what I wanted to do when I was building out those Node.js courses. I wanted to build out some backend lessons and tutorials. It kind of makes me want to focus on one thing at a time again. I've always thought about hiring someone else to also do videos and content, pushing out things with me as more of a partner. But it's just really difficult to find someone else that can help me out. I thought about hiring like a video editor, but the problem is the way that the video content is structured. You have to understand what the code is doing while you're doing the edits. So it's really hard to hire someone to do that. Yeah. And then I've thought about hiring designers to help me with putting up like design work for the website, thumbnails, channel, and whatnot. But for me, even though my Photoshop work isn't the best, I think it's easiest and the fastest for me to just like pump out that content on my own. Like Photoshop for me isn't that hard. Just put some things, put some boxes here and there and call it a day. Any usage or thoughts on Xamarin? I haven't used it at all. I think that C# developers really like it. You know, it seems a little strange to me to be using C# for iOS programming. But I guess if you don't know C# or if you don't know Swift, you don't know Java, then sure, why not? You'd go through this extra layer with Xamarin. Major skills interviews want for applying as Android iOS developer. Well, anything that I teach on this channel is really useful to understand for interviews. Need a book for Swift that what can I get? I don't know. Depends on what skill level you are at. I think Ray Wenderlich's website provides a lot of really good books. I think maybe the Objective-C IO guys. Yeah, the Objective-C IO guys, they also put out some good content. And I think Hacking with Swift, probably, I think Paul Hudson. He has a good book too. I don't read books, so I can't fully endorse these books. I guess maybe I'll talk about why I don't read books. So the biggest reason for that is because whenever you're cracking open a book, there's always like some chapter that you read, and then they explain, okay, here's this topic that we'll discuss for the next 20 to 50 pages. And once you read it, you'll find that, oh, that's an interesting thing to know. But the problem with all of these chapters is that you don't have any real way to apply these concepts into your program. So that's the reason why I don't read books. I don't retain that information at all. Want to create a Flutter course? Maybe. Are you planning to create a new course? Yeah. Tips for App Store success? I don't think there's really anything that you can do for App Store success. It's really saturated right now, but there's always new things. So, for example, the thing that you should always think about when you're releasing new apps. So like when you have a new idea for an app, for me, let's say the latest craze is the IGTV, right? Everyone's trying to figure out how to succeed on IGTV. So think about it. If you have an application that produces videos and makes your videos really interesting without having to like as a creator, if I didn't have to spend so much time to make my videos interesting, then that would be awesome. So I think there's a really good opportunity there to make some great money. Stick with Swift. I agree. We'll love Android stuff. I mean, for Android, doing a course would help you a lot. You don't have to explain the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So Bobby Jap, good to see you again, Bobby. Here, your allergies are reacting the same as mine from the haze in San Francisco today. Yeah. Oh, is that what the yeah. There's like a huge overcast of something in San Francisco today. Everything appears brown. Maybe that's a good sign that I shouldn't actually move to Concord. The more complex, the better animations. What about RX with MVVM modeling? Longer videos, like a whole series in one video, in my opinion, would be great, but not every day. Your quality may lower, but 2 to 3 a week would be wonderful. Yeah, that's kind of the target that I'm aiming for these days. I think a good idea. Same app with different architectures, Viper MVP, MVVM. Some more advanced ideas, LZ, multi-threading, multi-write, core data stacks, caching network results, advanced animations like the CA display link. Yeah. Please, are you Chinese? Yes, I am Chinese. Felix Qual. That sounds like a Cantonese last name. Qual? 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 Yeah, I can't figure out what that last name is. Qual. I can usually guess what the last names are. Sounds funny. Apple needs to create something that will let Swift code work on Android. By the way, Google could, but in that case, they have to rewrite the whole library from scratch. They chose Kotlin because it is compatible with Java. Yeah. Yeah, apologies. My question is not up to the mark. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Again, I'm not calling anyone out for the questions, but sometimes I just need more context with the questions. So Felix says, I can't believe you are teaching all these for free. I really love your videos. Yeah. Again, one of the reasons why I put up all this content on the channel for free is because there's just so many other things that I can talk about that I'll charge people for. Like everything I put up on this channel is free because there's a good opportunity to teach more advanced things on it later on. Yeah, Sabishek. So making a login page and you want to keep the user logged in whenever they reopen the app. So if you follow the Instagram Firebase course, there's an easy way to check out when the user is still logged in. If you're not using Firebase, then I would suggest using Core Data, which there's also a course for that down below as well. You want to save the user being logged in, or if you want to just do the easy way, just use user defaults to figure that out. I constantly learning last 2 months. It becomes boring. Should I start making apps? Yeah, I think so. Long time, 10 years web developer, getting into iOS. Been using your videos to get up to speed. No question. I wanted to say thank you. Well, you're very welcome, David. I'm just really glad people are finding the videos useful. That's the most important thing for any YouTuber. What do you measure being a generalist while not being responsible for too many things? In my job, I do programming and testing, but I am asked to get other things like full stack and DevOps. So one thing that you probably can't avoid too much, especially if you're in a small company, is the DevOps. And for example, you want to push code to production and you want to figure out which branch to push into the release. You'll probably be responsible for that at a small company. And then as you grow, you'll hire people to do that for you. And yeah, one thing that I do encourage is that you probably want other teammates that are also generalists that can also manage the entire stack for your code base. That way, you know, if you ever get hit by a bus, they can also take over. Not that you're gonna get hit by a bus. Any book suggestions for programmatically building an app? I think programmatically building apps is just something that's more advanced. So not a lot of people want to write books on this because it probably wouldn't sell that well. Any chance you will modify LBDB to pure Swift generics? I don't know yet. We'll see. What are your thoughts on Flutter? I don't know my thoughts on Flutter. It seems to be okay. It's very difficult to do the things that I want to do that I know how to do in Swift. I'll just say that. And some things seem to be impossible at the moment. How much experience do you need to fully qualify to get a job as an iOS developer? I would say that, you know, if you can build out that Instagram Firebase application using that course, if you know how to put that app together, then you have a pretty good chance of demonstrating your skills so that employers know that you're worth the hire. I guess I'll say that. How do you balance all the work that you do? I understand you do some sort of Photoshop, ad development, video editing, and a big job. I honestly don't know how I balance all this stuff. So yeah, the thing about being a YouTuber for me, I find it's best to figure out how to streamline the entire process. So what I mean is when I produce a video, I record it one day and then I edit the same day, I upload, and then I make the thumbnail, I schedule it for publish, and then I'm done. Rarely do I do projects that span multiple days. Yeah. Future courses, design patterns. Yeah, we'll see. I think I have some MVVM tutorials, some lessons planned for the upcoming week. And we'll see how fast I can edit them together. Cheers from India. Awesome work. Can you tell me what is the last thing or project you worked on? So the last official project I worked on was called Touch of Modern. Integrated Apple payments, Android Pay. What else was in that app? I don't know. Looking back on that app, seemed like it was pretty easy to build out. But actually, anything that you build out, you look back on it, you'll wonder, like, why did it take so long? It just seems so easy. Do you play video games? I used to be a World of Warcraft player, so that was 10 years ago. Yeah, probably more than 10 years ago. Health kit. I'm not a huge health kit person, but it does seem like a really useful framework. I guess when I get an Apple Watch, I'll eventually do some health kit stuff. But at the moment, I don't really have a huge curiosity for health kit. If I had a success app, yeah. So if you're ever successful with building out an app, which I think you will be, just make sure to let everyone know where you learned all of the skills that led you there. Make a FaceTime app. I don't know what that means. Machine learning, waiting for another awesome course. Well, we'll see what happens in the second half of 2018. Okay, wow, more questions. Thanks for the great work. Okay, so we're at 1 hour and 44 minutes. Yeah, how to become a freelancer? I don't really know. So becoming a freelancer there's two components to it. You can either be really well known and people will find you, or you can be really good at finding other people. So try both. I would say write a lot of blog posts and get your name out there. So you'll be surprised at what one blog post will help you in terms of finding or people finding you. You find it, you have a Medium, post on Medium, post on a advanced, and post on a topic that a lot of people are searching for, and then you'll be contacted for work from time to time. For this channel, I get a lot of people contacting me about things. I pretty much turn down 99% of everything because for me, working at it as a contractor just isn't worthwhile for me right now. So yeah, just getting your name out there. Social media is amazing and what it can do. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go use the bathroom and then I'll be right back. Hopefully you guys can enjoy yourselves. So where's my keyboard at? BRB bathroom. that felt good. Let's see. What are some of the questions that we have here? Seems like there's still 93 people watching, even though I wasn't back in the stream. So Apple Jam says, idiot who buys all of the tutorials but never go through them, jump from one course to another. Which one of the videos should I watch first? I have Instagram, Core Data, and podcast. So I think the Instagram app is a great one to learn how to build things out if you're interested in social media. The Core Data one is good for persistence of data. The podcast one is like a different style of applications. So building out a music player, I think it's interesting. Yeah. How do you make a PayPal app? I don't know. You Google it. Do you normally create your entire data structure in Core Data as well as whatever NoSQL database you're using? I think your Core Data stack will look pretty different compared to the NoSQL stack. I mean, they're not going to be like extremely different, but there will be some small differences. For example, the relationships, the entities, the attributes, they will be somewhat different. Okay. So new rule. I'll probably just skip over any cross-platform questions. So React Native and Flutter questions, I'll skip from now on until the end of time. Okay. So we have a super chat from a name that I cannot pronounce. Is this Ebrahim? Yeah, I'm just gonna say Ibre. So he says, hey, thanks for your vids. Could you please tell me how to refactor VC in Swift with programmatic view when it has a lot of sub views? So when views have a lot of sub views in them, I would probably just have one view class. So if you watch that video on how I refactored my CA display link view into a separate class, that'll be helpful. Is there any future for iOS developer? Well, I don't know. I guess I'll also not answer seemingly silly questions. Okay, so this is a better question. In India, here, no feature for iOS developer. So yeah, I don't know about other countries, but luckily for us in the US, it seems to be a pretty decent decision to become an iOS developer, at least for the people here. But unfortunately, for a lot of different places, that's just not the case. So yeah, you have to make the decision on based on your location, just like anything else that you do. There are a lot of physical constraints, financial constraints, and things like that that make this stuff not possible sometimes. So here's a question. Can you please share the most difficult tasks you face while developing any projects? I think testing. Yeah, testing is probably the most difficult for me, because I wasn't officially ever trained on how to write testing or how to do testing correctly. So when I first jumped into it, I found it to be quite difficult. What else? What else? How can I get a job in US as a iOS developer? Well, first you have to move here, right? I'm gonna give you something back. What do you want? Please tell me you deserve it. So Ahmed, what do I want? What do I want? Please tell me I deserve it. Well, I don't really know what I want at the moment. The one thing that I've been really trying to change is my actual apartment, really. So it's not even a problem with money. It's just I have to spend the time to go out and look for an apartment that I like. And I actually want to move about an hour and a half away from where I currently live. So what that means is I have to go look for apartments that are really far away. That's going to take an entire day, maybe 2 days. And that's kind of what's been on my mind lately. I really want to have a bigger recording. I actually don't really care about where I record, actually. As long as I have a room that's not near my refrigerator, which is over there. So some of you guys probably hear the humming noise in some of my videos. It's actually my refrigerator that's, I would say, 15 feet away. So that's really annoying. I live on a street that has a lot of cars that run or to drive by, and some cars are just super loud. So sometimes I'm recording videos and like there's this loud ass car noise that just zooms by. So that's the other thing that's super annoying about where I currently live. What I really want is just a quiet recording studio where I can focus on producing videos without those type of distractions and disturbances. That's kind of what I really want right now. In terms of anything that I can buy with money or anything that I can order off Amazon, I don't need anymore. Like I have a camera that I can record off of, equipment, everything seems okay. I have, I've built my own computer, which is really great for editing. It makes producing these videos super easy. I have a laptop. I have all the equipment that I can buy that I don't need. I used to want to buy better lighting equipment. So I have lamps and all kinds of lights here. I don't need that anymore. Yeah, I've just lately realized that I can probably retire early if I really wanted to. And that's what's awesome about this, about the YouTube channel. I have the freedom to just do whatever I want and push out as much content as I want without having to think about, there's a lot of business concerns that you have to worry about. So when money isn't really a super huge factor, you can really do some creative things on the channel. And luckily I'm in the place where I don't have too many financial constraints, but obviously that's going to change. I think all my life I've been living in a way where I've always been worried of not being financially secure has been a huge thing for me in the last 10 years. So I've always felt like even though I'm, working as an engineer in Silicon Valley, making, mid 100K salary, like the upper 100K to 200K, in that range. Even though I was earning that money, I always felt like at any given moment in time, all of that could be taken away from me, and a company holding, or pretty much a company having full control of my future, that was something that I was never comfortable with. So you guys will also experience this too. Even though you're a programmer making like a lot of money, you have skills that are transferable to any other company, and you have all this going for you. Like, it feels really great, but at the back of your mind, you know that all of this stuff can go away like that. So I've only just started to kind of come into being a little bit more secure about that. And that was only possible with, I guess, creating this channel, creating something that I owned, something that I can control, and something that makes me just be a little bit more free. So that's been great for me. Not that you guys care, but well, he wants an iMac. Let's chip in, guys. So again, I don't really need an iMac. I don't. Honestly, anything that requires money for me to buy, I can pretty much buy it. Or anything that's not over like $10,000, I can buy pretty easily. And that's because when I was working full time, I never really spent my money on anything really. That's kind of one of the reasons why I quit as well. When I was working full time, I was making all this money, but it was just going into my bank account. I was just watching my bank account go up every 2 weeks. Like, it goes up a couple $1,000s. Well, okay, that's nice. I'm being tortured at work, but I guess the numbers of my bank account should somehow make me feel a little bit better. But obviously it wasn't. So now I saved up all this money. I don't really know what to do with it. And I feel like I was watching Tech Lead the other day on his YouTube channel. He was talking about how he has so much money now, and he doesn't know what to do with all this money. Like, making more money wouldn't change his life at all. I mean, it's a problem. It's a weird problem to have. And I think it's only a problem for like programmers and developers, because after a certain point, you're like, why am I working so hard to learn 5 different languages at the same time? Why am I doing this to myself? And in the beginning, it's like, okay, I can prove myself to these companies. I can get this job at, Facebook, Apple, Google. I get that job, and after a while, you're, what else is there? Yeah, I think I'm just rambling on it at this point in the live stream. So yeah, let's talk about questions that are not related to programming for now, I guess, for the next 10 minutes. How much money did I spend on my Hackintosh? I would say probably like close to $1,000. I have an i7 8700 processor, which is amazingly fast. I probably should have bought the i9 at the time. Is that the i9? Yeah, I think the i9s are already out. I probably should have bought, I bought the processor for about $300. I should have spent maybe $700, just because it's really annoying to have to rebuild another computer. I won't say annoying, but it's a little time consuming. So yeah, I spent $1,000 at Hackintosh, and then I have my 4K monitor. I have this other monitor. You guys have seen my setup that I use for personal and also for video making. I could literally buy 2 more 4K displays, and they're super cheap. They're like $200-$300. It feels weird to just say that, but a lot of technology has decreased in price significantly over the last 10 years. I remember when I was first building computers and considering like, oh, which monitor should I buy? You would spend days deciding on things like that. But nowadays, things are so cheap, you can just buy it for $100 off Amazon, and the thing that you get is really high quality. So like buying a 4K monitor is extremely cheap in terms of, relative to the past. So that's awesome. Anyone that wants to build a new computer, I would highly recommend it. In my life, I've probably built out five or six different computers, and yeah, it's always been fun. It's a fun process. I've always enjoyed putting things together. So for me, like whenever I build or buy IKEA furniture, I actually like taking out all the parts out of the box, putting it on the floor, taking out the manual, going from step 1 all the way to step 10, and then putting that entire thing together. I really love that process. And I guess that's kind of why I like programming as well. It feels like it's the same thing. You go from step 1 all the way to step 100, and then you have something at the very end. So for me, yeah, that like getting that sense of accomplishment from building something and putting it together, that's what I enjoy about most of the things I do. I guess it's more about like chasing a result. And yeah, building a computer is extremely fun. The frustrating parts about putting a computer together is actually the operating system, which isn't that bad. If you can figure out how to download like Windows or the Mac OS, you put it together really easily. So here's a question. Where am I planning to move to? So I'm actually from Sacramento, California, which is the capital of California. It's a drive. It's about 2 hours away from San Francisco, and my parents still live in Sacramento. So having to drive 2 hours just to see my folks is inconvenient. And my dad, he's getting a little bit older, so he kind of needs someone to look after him a little bit. He just recently got eye surgery, cataracts, or to, I guess, fix his cataracts. And yeah, he's getting older, and for anyone that knows, when your family gets older, it's hard to deal with. So like it's hard for him to deal with. Obviously, for me, I'm still a lot younger, so I would like to be able to take care of that problem, or take care of that if possible. So yeah, that's kind of why I plan on moving closer back to home, and that way the drive wouldn't be so bad. And yeah, family struggles. What are my hobbies other than coding? What do I like doing? I don't know. So one thing I do like doing is language learning. So I'm not talking about programming languages, but actual spoken verbal languages. I really like to learn about that. So yeah, in the last 10 years, I've been studying the Chinese language for quite a bit. I don't study like I don't open a book and study, but I like to watch shows and watch things that help me improve my language abilities. So that's the other thing that I really enjoy in life. And there's some traveling that I like to do, but I don't do that so much anymore. I find that whenever I'm traveling to another country, I'm always just thinking about this YouTube channel anyways. So why don't I just stay at home? So something that you guys don't know if you're not a YouTuber is that every moment of your life, you're pretty much thinking about, oh, how can I produce content? What else can I talk about tomorrow? And when you're on vacation, that doesn't stop. You're still thinking about what you can produce the next week, next month, what your next year will look like. So what's my age now? So I'm in my mid-30s, or I guess, yeah, I would say mid-30s. Is it hard to learn Swift? Probably not. There's a lot of, so any question that starts out like that, is it hard to learn, you know, X, considering how many different tutorials are online, YouTube, Google, things are amazingly easy to learn in the year 2018. So, and it'll get even easier as more and more content is out there. So there's really no excuse not to learn anything right now. So a bit personal question. Do you have any life partners? So currently no. I guess that's the other thing that I need to take care of in life. Yeah. 'Cause, you know, I mean, I definitely plan on having kids. So when I get married and start having kids and having to buy a house, that's going to be a whole different problem. And I won't be able to produce videos at this rate. Yeah, my dad's always telling me to like find a girlfriend, find a wife, and have kids. You know how older people are. Pray for your father. Best wishes. He will recover soon. You know, having eye surgery when you're older, it's just a thing that will kind of keep your eyesight at what it is, and it kind of prevents it from deteriorating any further. So he'll be all right. Do you think Reason's tech lead delete his videos about hiring is legit? Yeah, I totally understand what he's talking about, because when you put yourself out there on YouTube, especially when you're talking about things like salary and why engineers quit and other topics that are kind of controversial and kind of sensitive, you don't exactly want to have that out on the public like that. It's a little risky. It hurts your hiring potentials. Why don't you plan on vacation to India? I would welcome you to India. I mean, it would be amazing if I was, let's say if someone paid me to go to India, that would be amazing. So the only reason why I'm going to Shanghai, China is because it's for work. I don't like going to places unless I really want to go there. Like I actually like to spend my time doing something productive. So if someone were to sponsor me to go to India and do like a Swift teaching conference thing in India, I would love to go and do that. Otherwise, I'm not a big vacation person. Thanks a lot for sharing. So Mike Bunn asks, how do you build your APIs that you use in tutorials, and do you have a tutorial for that? So if you watch the Node.js tutorials, you can find all of those APIs available, or how I actually build out those APIs. That Node.js tutorial will teach you exactly how to do it. I don't personally, those APIs that I use are not built using Node.js. They're built using Golang, but it's all, at the end of the day, you're just producing JSON for consumption. It's very similar. I mean, technically it's different, but the process is exactly the same. So one thing that's nice about being a full stack developer is I can build out this channel. I can build out all of the APIs that I need. I can put together all of the tooling, the videos for me to make so that JSON is available. It's extremely simple. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I encourage people to be full stack engineers. You know, don't ever rely on someone else to help you build out a server API. It's rather annoying. Like, I remember working full time, and you know, what happens a lot is you get split into a lot of teams. So you have your iOS team, and then you have your server team, and then you have your maybe like your other Android team and some other tooling framework team. And sometimes what happens is you get assigned one specific server engineer, and then this server engineer might not be the best. Furthermore, they might go on a lot of vacations, and also they might work from home a lot. So I'm not saying that I've experienced this in the past, but I've definitely met a couple of engineers that do that a lot. So I kind of got tired of waiting for server APIs to be built so that my iOS app could kind of, finish out the feature, right? So typically what I'll do is, okay, if the server engineer is not available, I'll poke into the server API, look at the code, and I'll modify the code myself. And then I'll submit a patch. Obviously the patch won't be perfect. I'll have to fix it so that it can get merged into the main branch, and then there you go. Your server API is available. So that's the other thing that I don't like about development, is sometimes you're dependent on someone else's work. And it's not that I produce perfect work, but I always try to provide, like, I hate being the blocker for someone else's feature. And I'll try my best to unblock people as soon as I can. I don't know. So what do you have to learn to get a job? I don't know. That seems like a topic for Google. What is my favorite TV show, favorite movie? Laurel or Yanny? So I think I heard Yanny when I was listening to that. Yeah, I think I heard Yanny. So I guess my ears are, I got Yanny ears. What is my favorite TV show? I've been watching Westworld lately. So I think I'm on episode 2. So Westworld season 1, I thought it was good and bad in certain moments. But overall, I thought it was, maybe I'd give it a 7 or 8 out of 10. And the last episode of Westworld 2 was aired, I think, a couple of weeks back. So now the whole series is out. I'm starting to watch it, but it's kind of hard to get back into it. Yeah. It just doesn't feel like the same show anymore. I guess without Anthony Hopkins as the lead. Is he the villain in the Westworld? I don't know. But yeah. I've been watching too much YouTube lately, I'll tell you that. Is there anything we can share our tougher doubts to you related to programming? I always try to answer the questions that people post on the YouTube comments, but obviously if you look at the comments, I don't answer all of them. But I try to do my best. People that message me on Twitter, I get back to a lot more often than the YouTube comments. So if you can, tweet me something, I'll try to get to it. Can you give advice to a student who is about to finish university? How do I prepare for jobs, such as stuff I'd build to provide evidence? I don't know if I want to answer the job questions anymore for college students. So obviously, I guess I'll talk about colleges, since that's a huge topic that it's kind of controversial. I don't know. Do I want to talk about colleges? Okay, so one thing I'll say about universities and colleges, I guess I'll speak on behalf of United States, U.S. colleges. So I went to the College of UC Berkeley in California. Great school. Curriculum is awesome. Learned a lot. I wouldn't be able to be where I am right now if I didn't attend the UC Berkeley college. I graduated with an applied mathematics degree. I studied a lot of their computer science courses. I originally wanted to be a computer science grad, but due to some problems, I wasn't able to get my degree in that specific college, I think they called it there. So having said all that, I think college is it's a strange concept where we put in so much faith. We put so much faith into colleges, hoping that we can get a job out of it. But ultimately, like let's kind of be honest here. Like 90% of the majors in colleges are totally useless, right? I mean, not useless, but then if you want to get a job after you graduate, like a lot of degrees are somewhat meaningless. But yeah. So how do you prepare for a job? You know, what you want to do is go through a lot of algorithms, maybe have a portfolio. Can you imagine being QA for the bots in Westworld? Wow, that would be hard. What's the difference in uses of struct versus class in Swift? I don't know. That's a Google topic. Just drop in and say hi. Hello, Ruben. What is the best way to learn Swift and UI? That's a hard one. Like honestly, I started out doing things in Storyboard, and after a while, I kind of saw that, oh, I'm repeating a lot of these view controller things here and here and here. So I just slowly started to migrate all of the Storyboard components into code, and everything was sort of like centralized. I'm now more of MagTow. Feel much more confidence now. Do you know about MagTow movements? I don't know about MagTow movements specifically, but I kind of understand what the group is about. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do understand their concerns. So MagTow is like men going their own way, and apparently the male population in 2018, certain pockets of males feel like they are better off separating themselves from women. I don't know. It feels more like an excuse not to adapt to the way society is changing. But given all of the ways that society is changing, it feels like, yeah, it's become harder and harder these days to find like a female partner. Do you think Android is easier? I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Nothing is really easier than the other. It all depends on, if you want to learn how to program, then you'll pick one or the other. If you have an Android phone, obviously you want to pick Android. All right, so it's been 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think I am going to head out. For anyone that's still here, I'll probably not stream for another 2 weeks. Yeah, so having not done a stream for, I guess, a month or so, it kind of reminds me, like, streaming is kind of hard. So Mike Bed, here's an interesting question. I noticed that you don't rely on storyboards a lot. I've worked on a dev team that threw away projects from senior candidates because they did all programmatic views. Why do you feel programmatic is better? I guess I'll answer this question I'll leave it for another day. Yeah. All right, guys, I will see you probably in a video next week, or maybe another live stream next month when I come back from my trip to China. And that's going to be it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.